Good afternoon. My name is David Hale. I'm an adjunct professor of English and academic advisor here at Lone Star College, University Park. First of all, just thanks for joining me. So what we're going to be talking about today, digital places and liminal spaces, is like kind of a mouthful, but really it's looking at 360 video, digital technology, and how we can use these technologies to kind of augment our classroom to make them, a little bit more engaging, a little bit more interactive. So let's go here. So some of the issues with online learning that I've seen. So I have taught online classes for the past, 8 years. And some of the things I never really liked teaching online courses. I always think they're kind of boring and dry. I've asked students what they thought about them as an advisor and a professor. Sometimes they complain there's little to no help from other students in classrooms. There's no sense of community. Really, the only way to get in touch with the professor is to email them, and then, that has its own kind of difficulties. And then I kind of feel like there's really not much technical advancement in the field. With the advent of COVID, what we really saw was everybody move into Zoom, and we all had to adopt this technology very quickly, how to, raise, share screens, use Zoom, all of that. But ever since then, it's mostly just videos that we do. So what I got to thinking about was how can we do something a little bit more engaging, a little bit more interactive with our videos. Now, before we kind of get into that, I'd like to look at, the typical videos that we see on our online classes. These are the types that I was making. I think many of us still make, but I would like to look, like I said, I'd like to look at some examples. So when we're looking at these examples, I'd like you to think about, what is it that you're seeing? Like pretend you're a student. Do you think it's interesting? Is it engaging? And then think of yourself as a teenager, 18. I know we have a variety of students of all ages, but, from a young person's perspective, what are you seeing when you look at these videos? Now, one thing I do want to make clear is this is not me trying to run anyone's video through the mud. I'm not trying to say this is a good video or this is a bad video. I mean, we all have different levels of technology experience. We all have different equipment, and sometimes we're just making the best with what we can do and what's the most comfortable for us. And that's totally fine and acceptable. So I never want to come out and say like, oh, this person did a bad job with their video. It's not really about that. It's really just, how can we make things better? How can we make things more engaging? So that's really what I'm looking at. So what we're going to do right now is I have a few online lectures, and I'd like you to view these as if you were a student and see, which one talks to you more. Now, like I said, I'm going to show several different videos, and we can kind of get a feel for the different way that they're filmed, the different way that you're spoken to in the videos. Even look at the surroundings, where you're filming. All of these things are very important when we're thinking about student engagement. So let's go ahead and get to the first one here. So, this is just an English 1301 week instructional video. I found these videos at random. I wasn't like looking for anyone, and I don't know any of these professors. So, let's take a look here.
Hi everyone in 1301, this is Dr. E and I'm here with your week 1 instructional video. So at this point, you should have taken some time to work through the video that covers D2L and where to go and what to do there, as well as the video that goes over the syllabus and all the different things to expect in the course and how to use that as a tool or resource for you.
Now, some things that I want to point out just while we're listening, is first of all, the video quality isn't great. Like I said, sometimes we're just working with what we have. But if we look at what we're seeing and think about it, where are we in this scenario? Well, we're talking to a professor in our office, right? So this is a very intimate setting. It's as if you're having a meeting with your professor. You came into her office and you're just talking like people. So let's keep watching.
What I'm going to do now is just walk through what the expectations are for this week. I want you to know that when you see the schedule for this week and in subsequent weeks, if you're looking at the syllabus, it's normal to be overwhelmed. It's a lot of work, right? And it looks like a lot of work. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. A summer session moves very quickly, right? And the expectations are kind of more intensive, right? We're doing the work of 15 to 16 weeks in just over 5 weeks. So that means that each week is just chocked full, right? More so than it would be during a regular semester. So if you're looking at all the work ahead and you feel like it's just going to be too much on top of your work life, your home life, all the other responsibilities that you may have, then make a decision early, right? In terms of what needs to go and what can stay if you're taking.
Okay, so I'll stop it there. So I think some of the things that I'm looking at when I see this video is the professor is relatable. You can see, their bookshelf in the back. They have some toys there. Very calm voice, very comforting. It's a nice video. Like I said, video quality isn't perfect, but at the same time, this is something that I think we've all done, and I think this is a pretty standard video that we might put on our online classes. Now let's go and look at another example.
Hi, Eric.
So again, what are we looking at? Video quality, the speaker voice's tone, production value, things like that. But let's go to the next video. So here's another online lecture from Leadership Lab, The Craft of Writing Effectively. And again, so you can already see just from here that we are looking at a completely different type of video, right? Instead of so one-on-one, this is actually in a classroom with a professor lecturing. So let's take a look at this.
Let me immediately clarify things a bit by telling you a little bit about the difference of the University of Chicago's writing program. We're one of, as far as we know, two in the country who takes what we call a top-down approach to writing rather than bottom-up. Every other school in the country, their primary constituency is freshmen. So most every school has something like freshman composition, freshman writing, freshman seminars, et cetera. We don't actually have that course here. As I remind people, Chicago is, I don't know if it's the only university in the country, but one of the few that has more faculty than we have freshmen.
See, now here, again, in comparison with the last video, this is not as really intimate. We are in the classroom. You are a student sitting in the classroom watching the professor kind of do their thing. So, I mean, one thing to think about, I feel, would be which works better for you, which felt more comfortable to learn from. This type of scenario where you're actually in the classroom, or did you like kind of the intimacy of being in the professor's office and talking with them one-on-one? And then you as a professor or an instructor, what do you feel works best? What do you want to show your students? Do you need the blackboard in the background so that way you can help draw? Or, is it fine just talking? All of these things I think like we don't really think about in the moment. Sometimes it's just out of necessity. Oh, I need a whiteboard. Oh, I need to show, a math problem or something to draw on. But I think when it comes to like video style and videography, we kind of don't think about it so much. And I really think we should. So let's look at a bit more of this, then we'll move on to the next video.
That's because our program teaches throughout the medical school, and they don't usually count those faculty when they're talking about faculty ratios to students, but we teach in the medical school all the time. And they're chock-a-block with faculty because most of their doctors are also faculty members. So when this program got started in the late 70s, early 80s, our task was not to help the students, it was to help the faculty. This writing program got created because the people on this campus, as the guy who started used to say, our freshmen write pretty well. By the time they're third and fourth year students, they don't write as well.
Okay, so we'll stop it there. And again, I just wanted to reiterate, it is thinking about what comes comfortably to you. What is your, approach to teaching online, and what do you think would work best for you as the professor to help, you feel comfortable? Because when you're comfortable, that makes it just much easier for, your students to kind of follow along. So let's check out another video here. So obviously with this one, a lot more production value, right? We have this nice introduction. We have, some graphic design here. Oh, this is the same video. So, but nice production value on that one. So again, quality, speaker voice and tone, production, things you can think about. Here's a third video. So let's check this out.
Hi, I'm Jamie Edwards, a teacher with 24 years of experience and the creator of PowerEd writing plans.
So again, we have a little bit of music, a little bit of engagement, some pictures of students.
If your students are anything like mine, they often see very little difference between the first or rough draft and the final draft. In fact, sometimes the only change I get is they rewrite it just a little bit neater. But if our students are to produce comprehensive, well thought out essays, they must utilize the stages of writing. To paraphrase Shakespeare, all world's a stage and all the students merely writers.
So I really like that quote, so that's why I wanted to stop it there as an English professor. But I mean, you can see here that there's also, you get a little bit of, different cards, you have some graphics in here, you have the talker speaking into the camera, a little bit more
Because our
production
minds don't
value than the
always think
first,
in
but like
logical
I said, they
paragraphs
probably
with
have a
supporting
team working on
details
this one
and
where the
carefully
first
trying to
professor was
complete
just
the
on
sentence.
their own.
We need to approach writing as a step-by-step process.
But let's skip ahead here.
So,
Here we go.
what are the stages of the writing process? Well, there's 5 of them, and each one is crucial to the development of a well-written essay. Stage 1 is pre-writing. Stage 2, drafting.
And so when we're thinking about graphics and things like this, would having a graphic like this help, your students think about, what they're doing, like having a step-by-step series, or, is just talking just enough? I mean, these are other things that we can think about when we're thinking about like, okay, how do I make my point come across to the students easier? And I think this video does a really good job with the graphics. They're very simple. Obviously, this might not be for like a college level student. This might be for, somebody in the grade schools. But at the same time, I think that the tactics used in this video, are pretty effective.
Stage 3, revising. Stage 4, proofreading. Stage 5, final draft. Now, let's take a look at each stage in detail. Introducing pre-writing, time to think. In the first stage of the writing process, the students will be laying the...
So like I said, with this one, I do like the engagement. I do like that you're being talked to, and I do like, the graphics and some of the production value. So I thought that worked pretty well in this one. So let's keep going. Now, this is something completely different from all of the other ones, and let's check this one out. Obviously, you can already see the other videos, we're looking to standard, video screen. This one is really made for what? Well, you can tell just by the outline, this is made for cell phones, right? So this is something you might find on social media. So let's take a look at this one.
Step number 1 is to decide what type of outline you're going to use. There are so many different ways to outline a novel, and every writer is going to have their own unique way of setting it up and outlining. If you want some ideas on what outlines could look like, we have a video on different types of outlines, ranging from extremely loose, where you just outline as you go, to much more specific for different types of genres, to very complex. So figure out what level of outlining you want to do, what areas of the story you want to outline. It's up to you and what you think would be most beneficial.
Okay, so that was really short. But what I wanted to get across is this something that might work for our students? Look at what we're showing. This is a short, so this is only 30 seconds long. I mean, so could you compress like a video to make it shorter? Could you film it on your phone so that way it's more accessible to the online student who's using their phone to kind of take your class? I know nobody likes it when students use their phone to take your class because it is very limiting, but sometimes that's all our student has. So if they want to watch a video really quick, could you kind of film it off your phone so you get this sort of cell phone shaped film? And then, does your video need to be 3 minutes long, or can you get across everything that you need to say, in a shorter amount of time? Students today have very short attention spans, partially because they're watching videos like this all the time that are only about 30 seconds long. So again, something else to think about. Now, when I look at this video, other things that I notice, it's kind of dark right now, but this is very peer-to-peer, right? This is a student talking to a student. The background we see here, and I'll mute it just so we can see. It looks like it's in the library. So we're basically talking to maybe a classmate in the library. The dress is very casual. So some students, I think, in my opinion, might find this a little more relatable because it's not, oh, it's my professor talking, it's another student talking. So, I mean, even things like dress, what are we wearing when we put on these videos? Are we just wearing pajamas? Are we wearing like a full suit? Are we wearing, it's just the same as when we walk into a classroom. What we wear, is also something to think about when it comes to how we film our videos and how we kind of interact digitally with our students. So let's move on. So again, video quality, I mean, speaker voice and tone, I thought was very friendly. Production, I mean, very simple. It was just basically recorded on a phone. So let's look at some general thoughts on some of these videos. And we don't need to say it out loud, but you can discuss it in the chat if you like. Which video do you think was most effective? I saw earlier in the chat that, maybe all of these videos are effective in their own way. Maybe they have, different instances, but that's also something to think about. Do you want to make different types of video for different type of, content on your page, on your virtual classroom? Would the videos be effective for different age ranges? Also something to think about. Would there be a perfect video if you merge these ideas? Would mixing the personableness of the last video and the casualness with, the sort of background, office background of the first one be something that works? Things to think about. And then which of these videos would be most effective for your students, do you think? Just something to think about. But moving on from here, I want to get into, how can we up the ante here? How can we, we've been talking about videos, we've talked about videos that have already been used, which I think is interesting, but now I want to talk about 360 video. I mean, this is really the crux of this entire presentation, is using advanced technology. So what is a 360 video? Well, we're going to watch a few of them, but really there are now cameras that can film in 360 degrees. So you have a camera and it films in a sphere completely around you, which is really cool. And you can upload these videos to YouTube, edit them, do whatever you want with them, just like a traditional video. So what I've noticed is that we have this technology. I mean, it's been around for a while. It's coming to the main front, and I don't really see anybody using it. I see some videos online, but I mean, they're really not utilized that much, which I think is a shame, because what you can do with these videos is really transport your class into a different space digitally. So for instance, let's say that, and we're going to see an example of this. Let's say you're teaching a history class where, you want to show the students, kind of the horrors of war, the stress of war. But really, like, all we have is our voices to talk about it. And sometimes, I kind of have a monotone voice, so I know that sometimes I can kind of drone on. I don't know if you're the same, you might be super excited, but we have the ability to transport a student into that war zone, so that way they can see it. Obviously, I'm not going to show you anything with gore, blood, or anything like that, but we will watch a reenactment of a war scene from the 1940s. Now, that's not always going to be violent. We also, there's other videos I'm going to show you, but really what I would like to do with these 360 videos is to show you some examples, show you an example that I did, which I won't say it's amazing by any means, but I think I'm kind of working onto something here, and then maybe give you some ideas for some ways you might use this technology. Now, I know 360 video, it does require a specialized camera, and we're going to talk about costs a little bit. So I went out and bought my own, but my dream is that maybe this is something that your department can talk about and utilize to kind of help out your online classes and put one of these videos, in there for students to use. So anyway, let's kind of get into it. So next slide here. So things that we could do. Now, I'm going to go ahead and Alt Tab real quick so we can watch this. So this is David Attenborough, who's, very famous, but this is just a video on dinosaurs. So let's go ahead and share this.
Hello, and welcome to the Earth. Oh,
And just so you know, this is on YouTube, and I can grab the screen and then move it in 360 degrees. Now you'll see that some of these have higher production values than others. Some of these, have a lot of things going on, but I think at the heart of it, they're all kind of amazing and really interactive and really kind of fun. So let's take a look.
Was a very long time ago, 100 million years ago, in fact. Out there in the night sky, there's an asteroid that's on a collision course with the Earth. If and when it hits, it could wipe out the most extraordinary group of animals that have ever appeared on this planet, the dinosaurs. But today, we can go and look at them ourselves. This is a titanosaur. If I was on an ordinary television program, I'd say that it was about 40 meters long, which is as long as 3 double-decker buses in line, and that it could reach up to the top of a 5-story building. We could see for ourselves. Shall we?
Okay, now I personally love this video. I think it's amazing. I think they did really awesome work with the graphics. Obviously there was a team there. You've got David Attenborough, like wonderful speaking voice. So for me, this is, amazing. And it makes me wonder, why can't we do something like this? What's stopping us from, putting in the effort to do this? Even if we can't necessarily, replicate these graphics, there's other things that we can do. Let's take a look at another, go to my PowerPoint. So another video. So this is the battle reenactment video that I wanted to show you. This is a 1941 battle. So let's see here. So this now. Now, this was done, like it says in the video, with the reenactment, but you can see, you're there. You're riding in the tank. I mean, you're seeing the bombs go off. You're seeing the soldiers in the trenches. I mean, you're there. To me, how much more engaging is this than just reading it in a book? I love books. I think books are fantastic, but to actually have the opportunity to be here, to watch a reenactment of a battle like this makes it so much more real than just talking about, oh, well, they fought over here and there was, a battle this day. I mean, I think it really kind of brings into focus, that people did lose their lives doing this, and it was horrific. War is terrible. And you can kind of get a feel for it. The stress, the anxiety, is really captured in this. So something else to think about. Let's go back here. So now, these all had, very, high production value. They had actors, they had things like that, they spent some money, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. So what I did is I went out with my own 360 camera into just kind of the state forest over here in the woodlands, kind of right by where I live. And I filmed a video. So this is just something that I did. I was just kind of playing with the technology. I'm not going to say it's the best, I mean, compared to what we just saw, but at the same time, it kind of gives you an idea of, just what you can do with a camera if you just go into somewhere. So let me make sure that the quality is a little bit higher here. So we'll do here. Hello, class. This is David Hale, your professor. Today for our lesson, we're going to be doing something a little bit differently. So we're going to take kind of a virtual field trip. So what this is the video you see in front of you is actually a 360 video. So it's on YouTube, but you can actually click and hold the image, turn around, spin around, and look in 360 degrees. So it's a little more of an immersive experience. So feel free to play around with that. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can turn up the quality a little bit because it still looks a little bit better. There we go. Getting to the actual lesson. So we've been talking about, different poetry, types of poetry, different poets, and kind of things that inspired, especially early British poetry. And so one of the things we're going to be looking at today is nature, right where our video is. So what I'd like to do is kind of give you, a little bit of a rundown of, the idea behind nature poetry, something called the green world. And then I'm going to go ahead and read some poems to you all, and feel free to keep turning around the video, kind of just like stake out the area, the forest, take it all in. And what I'm really looking for is to see, after we kind of understand the nature aspects of these poems, whether the idea of being in nature, even though we're doing it virtually, kind of helps to kind of maybe jog some ideas, or maybe it speaks to you more if you're reading them in the forest as opposed to just, in a classroom or something like that. Yeah, so my idea with this was really, with this technology, what you can do is tailor a lesson for a space. We saw, the war thing over there. Just in case I wanted to teach like a class on, nature and poetry and, things like that, then I could come over here. But it's really, the sky's the limit when it comes to this. It really just takes a little bit of effort. You just have to, for me, I just had to decide like, okay, I'm actually going to go into the forest today and do something a little bit weird, but it's going to be fine. And went out there into the woods and filmed this. I don't know that this, I won't say would it help students. Like, would a student find this more interesting than just me talking? I'm not sure. But I think at the very least, the idea that you can move this around and, hear the forest, see the little stream there, I think it's fun. So, if you were, let's say you were doing a creative writing class, or you're doing a creative writing or any type of creative activity, could you, take the students to the forest digitally and have them, draw something from here or write something? If you're doing, maybe a math class on, geometry, you want to show like the shapes in nature or naturally occurring, growth patterns or something like that, biology, anything like that. I mean, that's what I mean. It just really takes a little bit of creativity and a little bit of desire to want to do something like this. And well, I'll be honest, a little bit of money. And we can really make lessons that are memorable to students. And I really think drive home the ideas that we're trying to, get them to understand. So I'll go ahead and fast forward it just to where I read a poem because I like my own voice a little bit. Flowers in bloom, very picturesque. Couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood. They flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. So again, that was I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth. So again, we're looking at nature, it's not always is nice. And I'm pretty sure there's been some studies done that it helps but let's keep going. So excuse me. This next poem is On a Lane in Spring. This is by John Clare. On a lane in spring, a little lane, the brook runs close beside and spangles in the sunshine, while the fish glide swiftly by, and hedges leafing with the green spring's tide. From out their greenery the old birds fly, and chirp and whistle in the morning sun. The pilewort glitters neath the pale blue sky. The little robin has its nest begun, and grass green linnets round the bushes fly. How mild the spring comes in. The daisy buds lift up their golden blossoms to the sky. How lovely are the pingles in the woods. Here a beetle runs, and there a fly rests on the arum leaf and bottle green. And all the spring in the sweet lane is seen. So that was On a Lane in Spring. And again, that was by John Clare. All right, so let's cut it back to our PowerPoint. So, like I said, just different ideas, getting creative, having some fun with it, I think is just, kind of awesome. So what can we do with this technology? Like I said, well, history lessons given virtually in the place where the events occurred. If you're talking about, a specific area, a specific building, what if you went out there and filmed yourself in the building? What if you did a 360 video in the building? Would that be something that you could do? Literature lessons in spaces that touch on the piece being studied, kind of what I was touching on. Virtual field trips or tours through spaces permanent to lessons. If you wanted to take, your class to a specific place, but you can't because it's a virtual class, what if you just went there and recorded it and then kind of gave the tour that way? So like I said, basically tying lesson to place in a way that was never possible that we can do now. So how did I do that? That's what some people ask. So first of all, like I said, you do need a 360 camera. So I used an Insta360 X3. The cost is $400. Now, $400, is definitely nothing to sneeze at, but that's why I was thinking, maybe, if you're a department head, or maybe talk to your department head and see if that's somewhere where you could allocate funding, to really help make these videos and, post them on your classes. Everything we do is for our students, and I really think this is a tool that we could do, um, just to help our students learn and make things more real for our students. I also see that, yeah, there are grants, for technology. There's lots of things that we could do. This is very, very possible to do as long as you have a camera. That camera, the Insta360, was as simple as me charging it, and then it connected to my phone through Bluetooth, and then it was literally like I was just taking a video on my phone. There was an app, I clicked play, and it would record around me, and that was it. I did a little bit of editing for that. I use Final Cut Pro, but we also have graphic designers and people that work for our colleges that can help us with this type of thing if you don't know how. But also, if you just want to learn, it's really not that difficult just to do some simple cuts and post something on YouTube. Takes all of like maybe an hour to complete. So what I did was, or what you might do is think of a place that might be interesting to film, tailor a lesson to that place. I did record voiceover, so I didn't record myself like talking while the video was going. I went back in and dubbed over the video. And then you just kind of edit it all together. We all have the Adobe suite, so we all have video editing abilities, or at least what we need to do some video edits. Like I said, it's not as hard as you would think, though there's definitely a learning curve if you never edited a video before. But like I said, we have, through Udemy or any of the development, professional development courses we have here, there are a lot on just video editing. So if you want to learn, you can learn very quickly. But also, I kind of think of myself, especially when I'm teaching online. I am a professor, but I'm not just an professor, but I'm also kind of an influencer, right? You want to influence your students to actually read the book, right? So, I mean, teaching and educating, there is some performance involved in that. So sometimes I think of that, in the same idea of almost just as important as the material I'm giving is how am I giving that information, which is why I like, looking at video, looking at these different technologies and how we can use them. So now a professor is influencer. I wanted to talk about this a little bit because we did go over, I have heard and actually seen some professors do like an Instagram page that they do their little lessons on, which I thought was really interesting because they just do these short 1 minute, 2 minute lessons, just something like, oh, if you forgot how to cite a source, this is how you do it really quick. And so I kind of wanted to push this towards y'all, so maybe we could have a discussion about it in a little bit later. I know we're starting to run out of time here. But just this idea of when we think of influencer, what are you thinking about? What do you think the differences are between an online instructor and an influencer? What are the similarities? Again, an influencer is just someone, on Instagram, on YouTube, who usually pushes products or, pushes, lifestyles or, tries to influence you basically into a certain way of thinking or, buying a product, purchasing a product. And I think, especially as online professors, a lot of what we do is influencing students to try and get them to think, influence them to try and get them to learn. And so if we think of ourselves as influencer, then, you kind of want to think of the lesson as content. So when you start thinking of the lesson as content, not just the content that you are, speaking about, but your posts, your videos, your photos, other media shared across social media platforms, difference and similarities between an online lesson and social media content. Could we kind of bridge the gap between that, where there is some entertainment value in some of our lessons? I mean, I think all of us have our, little jokes that we like to tell when we're giving a lesson, try and get a chuckle, try and be, a little more human in the classroom. But, is there more that we could do there? And here's just some content rules of thumbs, because I also run the social media account for Lone Star College, University Park, the advising. So, I mean, when we look at content, it should be engaging, right? Well, that's the same thing as a lesson. I mean, content, it wants to build a community around the influencer. Same thing that we're trying to do is build a community within our classrooms. Think creatively to stand out. That's something that we all want to do. We want to think creatively. We want to be creative in our lesson planning. Content messages should be targeted, resonate quickly, and have value. I think that's pretty much the same with our lessons. And you want to keep in touch with the audience, I think, just like we want to keep in touch with our students. So I really think that there's a lot of overlap between the idea of content, on social media and our classrooms. So how can we utilize the same rules to improve online learning in our classrooms? Just something to think about, when you're scrolling through your TikTok or your Instagram or whatever, and you see a video you like, maybe stop and think, what makes this video? Why am I watching this? What attracted me to this? Why did I stop on this video? And then is there something in here that I can learn from or use to make my course videos, a little more engaging, a little more entertaining? And so I have one last 360 video example, and then we should have about 10 minutes to open it up to any kind of discussion or questions or anything like that. So let's Alt Tab here. And here we go. So this is a diving one from the Discovery Channel from Mythbusters. And so I thought this one was pretty good.
So, welcome to Mythbusters Virtual Reality. This is Adam, and no, however much you turn around, you won't see me because I'm not here. I'm just doing the narration. But the narration of what? Well, for Shark Week 2015, we tested the myth that sharks are scared of orca noises, killer whales, and we conducted that experiment on a shipwreck. This video is a behind-the-scenes tour of that wreck in full 360 degrees. So as we descend, you can already see the reason why we came to this wreck in the first place. There's loads of sharks. If you look all the way around you, you're surrounded by, I reckon, 25 sharks? These are nearly all Caribbean reef sharks, with the odd nurse shark thrown in. They're pretty hard to see. Now, I have to admit, I do get a little nervous before getting in the water with these guys, particularly when you're on the surface of the boat looking down into the water. Looks pretty scary, but once you're in the water, what you see is that sharks are beautiful, graceful creatures. It's a real privilege to be able to dive with them.
So obviously you can see that this has, some amazing, value here. We have, these actual divers going under. We have one of the divers wearing, a 360 camera. I did get the question in the chat, does this allow for virtual environments like generated in VR? Yes, it does. So these videos are the same thing as VR videos. Really the only difference is that I'm putting them on YouTube because not everyone really has a VR headset or really understands how to use the Google Cardboard where you can put your phone in and utilize that.
Pop in to say we got about 4 minutes till the time's.
Okay, but with that, I'd just like to open it up to discussion, some questions for the last 4 minutes. Just kind of see what y'all thought about this. If y'all have any like, interesting or, cool ideas that where you might use this, I'd love to hear about it, love to talk about it. But, like I said, is it that difficult to do? No, not really. I mean, it just takes some want. I mean, you just got to get out there and really want to do something and really, push yourself to see, what you can do. So how long did it take to learn the process? So I've been doing video editing for quite some time. The video using 360 video, I'd never done that before. And that took all of about, 10 minutes of reading the instruction manual. It's real simple. I'm not someone who, wanted something with a really high learning curve. I was just like wanted plug and play. I just want to get the camera, take it out there and do my thing. The video editing, like I said, is a little bit difficult, but you can even do things with, iMovie if you have, the Mac normal just video editor for just simple cuts and things like that. So yeah, I mean, like I said, is there a learning curve? Yes. It is the easiest thing in the world to learn. No, but is it pretty doable? Absolutely. I would say, if you edited maybe a few videos, just got a feel for it, you'd be off and running.
If there's any last minute questions here, we got about 90 seconds or so.
Well, thank you, anonymous attendee. No, and like I said, I appreciate everyone being here, and I really just hope that this, kind of opened your eyes to some things that we could do, some things that are possible, and, some things that maybe you could have fun with and your department might have fun with. But, thank you all for being here, and, I really appreciate you staying here for this.